Welcome to Seed to Success, the podcast where we deep dive into the strategies, stories, and smart decisions that help VAs and OBMs grow and thrive. I'm your host, Adrienne Donnelly, and whether you're just starting out or looking for ways to take your business to the next level, you are in the right place. Thanks for tuning in. Now let's get into today's conversation. Hello and welcome to Bec Chappell, first time on our podcast, but very experienced podcaster. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited to
I'm
be here.
excited. We've honestly just sat here gas bagging for the past 20 minutes. So it's like time to hit record and share all your amazing marketing expertise. So today we're really going to focus on marketing for service-based businesses, what you think works, what you're seeing, how a lot of us are navigating tough economic situations where clients might be pulling back from expenditure a little bit. But to kick us off, if you want to share a little bit about your background and what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I have been in this marketing thing around about 20 years now, which is wild because I don't look that old, right?
Correct.
That's just what I tell people. So I pretty much have always worked in this service-based industry or in that B2B space where you're selling to quite niche people or in that space where it's to another business. I pretty much started out the same way I think a lot of people start out, not really knowing what you want to do when you leave school and all that, and then fell into marketing, and here we are pretty much 20 years later. What I got quite good in my career at doing was setting up marketing departments in businesses that had grown. Sometimes they were 30 mil plus, they were big businesses, or they wanted to break that probably from that like 1 mil to the next, and they hadn't set up marketing yet. And I would come in and set them up a marketing function from a strategic point of view. So the systems, the processes, and all of the things, but also think about marketing in a very different way, I think, to the way a lot of people think about marketing now, and really think about it as a business system rather than just this thing that we add on when we're like, our leads aren't great. So that was how I made myself known in my area in corporate. And then the time came where COVID hit, I lost my job, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to start my own business. So that journey has been 6 years in making now, and I still find myself doing that exact same thing, really coming into businesses, all different sizes now, but really in that service space, and helping deliver marketing functions and making business owners rethink marketing as just posting to social media or sending an email occasionally, but actually think really strategically about their marketing and really think about the fact that marketing is a business system the same as your finance department is, or any other department in our business. I think marketing, unfortunately, still doesn't really get thought of that way a lot of the time. So I like to make people think a little bit more strategically and systems based with their marketing.
It's definitely a different approach in terms of it not just being let's throw money at this because sales have dropped or revenue's down or leads have dropped. So as we mentioned before, we jumped on all of our audience are virtual service providers working maybe in the VA and OBM space, but also may have niched into another area, but all in that service-based environment. When it comes to marketing an online or a virtual business, what do you see people doing really well and maybe not as well, or an area that could be improved? Is there certain trends that you see across your work?
Yeah, I love this question because I think one of the things 90% of people come to me about is social media these days. And I am like, I do poo-poo social media a little bit because I think it gets way too much time and attention over so many other things that we can be doing, even just online or not even online. But I think social media definitely plays a part in your marketing strategy, and I think it needs to be there. And I see people doing it really, really well. But the people that are doing it well, it's the ones that, they're actually engaging in it socially. So they're not just posting and praying that someone sees their content, or just going, oh, but that post only got 2 likes, and really, really focusing in on that. They're actually using social media as a driver to create connection and community. And I think that's where when people come to me and they're like, I'm not posting enough, I'm like, but that's it. Posting very rarely, it's not going to give you the result that you want in terms of a really healthy lead flow. Yes, it's part of the process, but it's not the whole process. And I think because social media has been flagged as this free way to get visibility, and it's like people complain all the time about email marketing. Oh, people's emails are flooded, I'll never get seen. Your lifetime in an email inbox is double that what you're going to get on social media, right? Because someone might leave you there on
True.
red. You might, yeah, but no one talks about social media being flooded, which I find is really, really
Mm.
interesting. We all know it's flooded, but we all still want to keep adding to that algorithm. So one of the things I see people getting way too overwhelmed with is their presence online and this obsession with I'm not posting enough, I'm not putting enough out there, or so they just use AI and create crap content a lot of the time to just be a part of it. But one of the things I think that people do really, really well is collabs. I'm loving seeing, as I said, communities, building all of that and excelling in their customer experience. I think that's, I once had one of my design friends say to me, if you pick up the phone to ask about a proposal that you sent out, you're in the 1%
Yep.
these days. That's so true. I think that the more we come back to the reason social media works and the reason that it has worked and the reason that it took off in the first place, it gave us a place to
Yeah.
connect. But we've forgotten
Yeah.
that. We've used it as a place to just add to the content wheel
Mm.
rather than what we actually want as people and founders. And, at our core as people, we want to feel a part of a community, right? So if you can do that, that I think is a really big way to create a digital online presence that actually
Yeah. And
works.
as you said, it's not just about throwing information out there into the void and
Yeah.
hoping everyone comes knocking on your
Yeah.
door. It's more using it plus your other marketing channels as to have a conversation with your current or future ideal clients, not just throwing it because you read somewhere on a blog that someone said you got to post 5 times a week at this specific
Oh my
time.
God. It drives me off the wall. Honestly, that is my biggest pet peeve, especially because a lot of the people that are posting that, they are
Mm.
influencers. I would say they're social media influencers. They're not actually people that have gone and done marketing study or gone and ever run. They might have run their successful business and they might have seen success in that way and grown a really good brand through virality online in a time where it was really
Mm.
easy for that to happen because you just had to be a little bit funny. But we know now with there's a lot of scary stuff coming out about the algorithms and what it's actually promoting. So unless you're willing to go out there and say something deeply controversial, it's really hard to get seen. So I think we need to, for lack of a better word, pivot away from our complete reliance on these platforms in the way that we have been trained to use them.
And I don't know if you're seeing this in your world, but I feel as though in our community, I'm noticing people who are just so overwhelmed and so exhausted by social media and really taking a step back, either
Yeah.
outsourcing it or just choosing not to be as active on there because the time that they are spending, they're not coming away feeling great about the future of their
Yeah.
profession, themselves. Just it's like a bad mental health sort of component to just people are pulling
Yeah.
away from it.
That's the thing. I think we are waking up and you see I've been having a lot of conversations very similar this year. People that have been like, I'm not going to be on Meta anymore because I just know too much. And I know about it's addictive and I understand that it's essentially a poker machine for my brain. And I think there is this real conversation now about the health aspect of social
Yes.
media. The government shine lights on it with the under 16 stuff. And whether you agree or disagree with it, it's highlighting the fact that these platforms are not actually for our
Yep.
benefit. They're to keep us scrolling, right? And the popularity of things like the brick. And then all I've seen on LinkedIn lately is conversations around how do I block myself off my social media? And I'm like, yeah, it's true. We're all addicted. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not addicted. I love a dog video better than anyone else. My partner and I just send each other Frenchie videos half the time. But but it is addictive. And I think as business owners, there was definitely a time where you could build a huge business off virality, off being on these platforms, off Meta. When they launched
Mm.
Reels, when we were at 2020, we were stuck in front of our computers. That's all we had. It was a really great time to reap it. And it's like any trend or any major thing, you get in, you make your money and you
Yep.
get out because the tide has changed and the conversation now, even the fact that I think Meta's in court at least twice a week at the moment, battling some random case of someone suing them for
Yeah.
mental health and so they should be, right? But I think that as a business owner, you have to look at that and go, is this actually giving me bang for my buck or am I actually feeling drained, feeling comparisonitis, wondering why my business doesn't look like that? Oh, they look so successful. And I know that's all been said
Mm.
before, but none of us are
No.
immune to that. I don't care how much personal development you've done. We all look at it sometimes and go, why aren't I as successful as that person makes themselves out to be? But we just don't know.
Mm.
So Yeah, I think I love the fact that the conversation is changing around it, to be honest.
Definitely. If there's someone listening who's maybe starting out or is like, I really need to start taking my marketing seriously, do you have some simple tips on where to start? Because marketing as a function, as a term, as a concept it's massive, but as a service-based business that primarily doesn't maybe have huge marketing budgets, we're working from home, we're running these small businesses from our home. Are there some simple points where you think this would be, if you just do one thing, I would say do this and do it well?
Yeah, I think I'm going to give you more than one.
Please, we've got all morning.
So we got one of the key things when I work with, especially in the smaller business space, like the startups or even the 100 to 500K. One of the things I think that gets missed a lot is this, what do I actually offer? Because we become everything to everyone because we really want to just make money. Because you're in that kind of, that startup phase.
Got to
where you're
make
like,
this work.
I need to pay my bills and I want to prove to myself that it's going to
Yes.
work. One of the things I would say is get very clear. Clear is kind. Brene Brown says it.
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
pretty sure it's Brene Brown, right? Yeah. But it's also very true for marketing and it's very true for humans in general. We need to know how you're helping me. And if we make it like, oh, we're going to give you this bespoke plan, we're going to do this, people like, that's too much option. I'm just selecting out because I haven't actually solved my problem. So getting really clear and articulate on what it is that you actually offer and how you actually help. Then I would come to this part about, well, why are you doing it? What actually sets you apart? What in your career, and you would have had probably years of beautiful experience, whether it's even from the day you were born, there's probably little signs of things that you were doing that have led you to where you are today. So do a little bit of a mind map of where has my career taken me? What was I known for? From old colleagues, and what does my family think of me? What do my friends think? And ask the question if you're a bit stuck, because sometimes doing that self-reflection can be, you can say, oh, but I'm not good at anything.
Yeah, you focus on
And
the
it's just not,
downfalls. Yeah.
yeah, right. You're only human, but it's not true. There is definitely things out there that you probably have achieved or do in a certain way that make you deeply unique. It could be your energy, it could be whatever the way that you do it. But asking the question, then really mapping out what sets you apart. Then where do you want to sit in your marketplace? Make this decision. Are you super expensive? Are you mid-range? Are you happy to be really cheap? Because where you decide to sit in that spectrum, that will help guide how you market and where you also market, right? If you want to play the numbers game and be really, really cheap, $49 for a course every month, whatever it is, you're playing a numbers game. So understand the volume is going to be much harder. The way that you advertise your business, the way that you market your business, the financials behind that are going to be very different. So understanding, and I know I'm marketing, so I don't want to talk financials because I suck at it, but understanding that where you decide to sit in your marketplace has to also match, well, what you want to earn and also how hard you want to market too, right? Because low ticket items, high volume leads, like
you got to tip a
they're
lot into
hard.
the top of that bucket to get the
Yeah.
conversions.
Exactly. And then I would say, what would good marketing look like for you? So what ROI would make you happy? What do you actually want it to look like? Understanding that, because then you're going into it with intent and you also might be able to find a partner to help you with it, or you actually have the guide, you know where to go looking for advice rather than just taking in all of the advice. Understanding how much budget you have. I don't care if it's $1, write down $1. Okay, my budget is $1. Cool. Everything has to be organic then. And that means I'm going to have a lot more sales stuff going on in the background. So understanding that marketing is not sales, they're two different things. And then finally, I would say, like, how many leads and inquiries can you actually handle before you need to scale, and understanding what that looks like. Because ideally, you turn on the marketing budget or the marketing activity, and look, it doesn't happen overnight, especially if your budget's $1. I'm telling you, it would take a long time to get the visibility, but understanding what you can actually handle helps you understand, once again, where you market, how you show up, and the strategy you use to do it.
We often hear about people saying you just show up consistently and that's the way. But how, as you're the saying, you've got a busy life, you run your own marketing for your own business. Do you have any tips on, because I know even for myself, I get really good. And a lot of it is sometimes where I'm feeling like creative and I've got a clear head with all the other hats that I wear, so I can jump on the stories more often than other times when personally my energy is not high. the last thing I want to do is put a camera on my face and try to show up online. Is there ways that, or tips that you have around doing that in a way, like showing up consistently as we're told to do? Because obviously you've got to feed the algorithm, but doing it in a way that's a bit more sustainable and helps you manage those ebbs and flows of our own energy and confidence and creativity.
We always start out with heaps of motivation when we start something new, right? We're like, yes, my business, I'm pumped. I want to get my marketing right. I see people leave strategy sessions with me and they're like, yes. I mean, they're overwhelmed
Yeah.
AF, but they've got a plan, right? They're like, yep, cool. Like I know what I need to do. But we know motivation
Then
wanes
we get
and we
tired.
know, and life gets in the way. My email that's going out today is about this. I've been the plumber with the leaky pipes this year because life has been lifing me. I had 2 dogs die
Yeah.
this year. I've had personal stuff going on. I have not been able to show up for myself
Yeah.
online. My email's been inconsistent. Everything in my world has been inconsistent this year, except the podcast. That's probably the one thing that I've been like, no, I haven't. But I also have someone literally whipping me into shape on that one, right? But I think we need to give ourselves grace that like no one's consistent all the time. No one. I don't care who you are. No one's consistent all the time. Motivation wanes and life happens. But one of the ways I will say to get really not good at it, but get better at it and manage it without it feeling completely huge and overwhelming is by bringing it back to 1 to 2 channels that are your non-negotiable channels, right? But choose them based on research of ROI and actually knowing that they're the channels that work for you. My email, I always get beautiful replies from my email, and my podcast. Like they're the 2 things for me that I'm like, if I show up nowhere else, I know that I'm still relevant and I'm around if people are listening to my podcast or they're reading my email, because they're the 2 places that I also feel like I really own as well. Social media, I own nothing, and you're playing a huge game there. So if I'm going to spend my energy somewhere and I've got very limited energy because I'm grieving, because, I don't know, my partner's sick or I'm sick or whatever, knowing those are non-negotiable channels. And it could also be something like networking. It could be every week I check in with 10 people that I know are going, we were talking about this before, like using your referral network, and that might be one of your channels. It doesn't have to be a LinkedIn, an email list. It doesn't necessarily have to be digitally. I know that I'm going against every marketer in the entire world, but there are some really great traditional methods and other things that we don't consider marketing, like referrals, asking your customers for a referral, keeping in really good contact with existing customers. There's plenty of ways we can market without having to create content and get stuck on that hamster wheel. But I think knowing for yourself what are the 1 to 2 things that really do work for you and make you feel like you're still in tune with looking for new leads, because we always need that activity happening in our business, right?
This is it's not something that we talked about a full peek behind the curtain. We have drafted questions that we're both looking at, everybody, but this is something I wanted to talk to you about, and I hadn't written it down, so we're on the fly here.
Oh, we're here.
Keep you on your toes, Bec. When you are in a service-based business, obviously your capacity, especially as VAs and OBMs, when we are selling out hours, they have a cap. We need to sleep, we need to eat, we need to go to the movies, we need to walk the dog, do all those things. So we focused a lot then about like growing and leads and things like that. What is the shift in marketing when you are genuinely at capacity? You don't actually need more clients. You don't have the capacity to service any more clients, but you still need to stay on your rainy day, because I don't know if other business owners that are listening, I mean, I'm 10 years in and I still sometimes I'm like, when's the tap going to turn off? Like, when are the clients going to leave? All of that stuff comes up. So how can we be proactively marketing our businesses when we're not actively looking for sales or new clients in our space? And sorry to put you on the spot.
This is an excellent question, and I love this, because the capacity thing, most people don't think about it, right? And then they think the problem with capacity is it's a roller coaster, and people would have heard this analogy before. You're at the peak of the roller coaster, and then suddenly your client, one of your biggest clients, walks away because they hire internally, or they, I've had 2 clients this year that I've set up, and unfortunately now they don't need me, right?
It
They
happens
love
in
me.
our
They
space
still-
too, especially with automation,
100%.
system improvement, and the way technology
AI.
moves. It's like sometimes our role is to go in there, ship things up, and make ourselves not redundant because it's not employment, but you know what I mean? Make ourselves no longer
Yeah.
needed. And you never know when
Yeah.
that's going to, and I know we're going to talk about the economy shortly, but it all glows into this. You never know what's around the corner.
Yeah, and it's a terrifying concept of being in business is the fact that you never know. Sometimes, even with your books filled, you don't know where the next dollar is going to come from if someone
Yep.
disappears, right? And I think the way that I think marketing doesn't get thought about at the moment, we're always marketing because we want leads, we want leads, we want leads. That's how marketing gets spoken about. We want sales. Well, sales is sales. Marketing does drives like the
Mm.
sale, like drives the lead to the sale, right? But there's also always on marketing and then there's campaign marketing, right? So your always on marketing is more like your branding. You're just staying out there, you're having conversation, but it's really, there's no big calls to
Yep.
action. It's more just keeping your brand
Mm-hmm.
there. And this is where people don't. I had a conversation with my friend who's a brand strategist this week, and she's like, people don't understand what I do. And I'm like, it's the same with marketing strategy, right? People don't understand why they need it. They don't think they need it because when they come to brand or marketing, they're at the point where they need us.
Mm.
It's not at the point where we're thinking about it of I'm setting myself up for 5 years' time when the economy goes to shit. Two of my clients have left me and I need to pull on someone quickly. So people start marketing at that point where they're low and they're in need
Yeah.
of it, right? Rather than just having this always on, nice, consistent flow of marketing that's going out. You're sending an email every 2 weeks, you're posting to LinkedIn once a week, or you've just got some brand awareness going on in the background. You're having conversations with your referral network. You're
Yeah.
building a referral
Yeah.
network. You have a beautiful client flow that means that when someone does finish working with you, they are screaming from the rooftops to all of their friends. And then their friends are like, I need to work with that person and get on the wait list and blah. So you're creating an ecosystem with all of the things set up strategically in your business so that when the shit hits the
Yep.
fan and suddenly you don't know how you're going to pay your mortgage, you know where your next dollar is coming
Yeah.
from because you have had always on marketing happening. Then you go into a campaign cycle. So if you suddenly, like me, right, 2 clients, bless them, I set them up too good. No, not really. My role is a lot of the time I do get made, I need to be made
Yeah.
redundant, right? It's a shit thing about the way that my business is set up in a way, because it means that a lot of the time they don't leave me, though. They'll just keep me on retainer because they're like, come back in or whatever. But the reality is a lot of the time I do myself out of my own
Mm.
job. And so it's like I have to, then I'll go into campaign mode when I know I'm leading to that person
Mm-hmm.
disappearing. So that's when I start going to my referral network a little bit harder.
Right.
Or
So you just
I
turn
reach out and
it
do,
up a notch.
yeah, turn it up a notch, and also understand that I'm about to go into campaign mode. So I might push my white paper a lot. I might put a lot more calls to action that are really bold on my LinkedIn or my email messages, but they're not, it's still with
Yeah.
intent and there's a campaign behind it. So it might be for a 3 week period, 4 week period, and the goal is to get XYZ from
Yeah.
it. Or I might go back and, because I have a CRM that tells me every proposal that's ever come in, and it's like I can go back and look through them, or I can go back and talk to my previous clients. But I think this is where people don't set up the system of marketing. They come to marketing when they're in desperate need,
Yes.
and that it doesn't work, because unless you flick on an ad and then you've got something that, like, but in our world, ads aren't that
No, and you've
effective.
got learning periods and there's big budgets
Yeah.
required to run digital
Yeah.
ads. It's funny you mentioned about that, like, going back to your CRM, because I remember listening to your podcast episode and you had said, like, and we're going to get into this now, when the economy gets tough, what are some things you can do? And during a mentoring session with another VA, we had that exact conversation. So she's transitioning out of employment into her business. So she was getting inquiries, but her availability, because of her part-time job, meant a lot of the clients said to her, look, we'd love to work with you, but you just don't have the availability. And she then was like,
Yeah.
I'm going all in. I was like, the first place you're going is back to those people to
100.
say, and I was
Yeah.
like, I got that from you to say, I hope you found someone great. Just letting you know my availability's changed. So if you ever need anyone or anyone in your circles, I have now had this availability. And that was like her first port of call, was those people where there was already some sort of engagement, some sort of relationship. There was already some sort of interest. And I guess that's the importance of then having good systems where you can track that information, even if it's just a spreadsheet till you have budget for something fancier.
Actually, yeah. Yeah. And HubSpot's got a free version.
Yeah.
So go out and look. Like, I'm all for not spending. So the way that I set businesses up is until they're at a point where they have to spend money on systems, don't. Because unless it's a system that's like your lifeline, then obviously, like, for example, Xero.
I was going to say Xero.
No-brainer.
I'm like, I'll give them whatever money they want.
100, my $90 a month. I'm like,
Best
holy
money I
shit,
spend.
that's expensive, but thank you. My accountant loves it for me as well, because I'm pretty, let's be honest, I am not finance. But yeah, I think that going back to that network, like your client, the next client you have is somewhere
Already
in
in
your
there.
network. And it's really, it bugs me because there's so much toxic messaging online. Like, I literally read it the other day from this, so I'll say she's a social media business influencer, and she's got 300 million followers or something. And she like posts this thing that's like, if I was starting business tomorrow, this is how I'd do it. And everything was around her social media strategy. And I was like, no, that's, you're setting yourself up to fail, because if you are trying to compete in this space where you get 2 seconds to make someone stop the scroll, where is your to create that content, to get that 2 seconds of someone's attention, and you don't even know if it's the person that attention that you need. You don't actually know who's seeing your content. That time, that 3, 5, 10 hours that you spent creating a bloody reel that's so helpful for someone, that it's just, if you spent that 10 hours actually going back and having real conversations, going and having an hour-long coffee with someone, if you spent that time nurturing and nourishing relationships from corporate, from, you know, maybe you've been in business a little bit of time, actually setting up collaborations. For example, for me, if I go find an accountant that works with businesses, they can just feed work to me, and I can feed work to them, you know, setting up these collaboration partnerships with people that have your client already, but they're not your competition. Talking to you, like, there's, depending on the industry you're in, I reached out to a girl last night who we both got put in contact with the same person. She's a marketer. She's slightly different to me. And I said to her, oh my God, your name came up today in an email. So excited to actually collab with you. Saw this person come across our desk, blah, 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 blah. But I actually kind of really want to nurture that relationship and actually see what she does and see where we can share information or, you know, and I think that 10 hours that you could spend producing content that may or may not be seen, that's going to make you feel like shit when you don't get 1,000 likes on it. The dopamine is better off coming from you actually going and having a conversation and a coffee with someone and connecting. That to me just seems so much more exciting than sitting in front of a video hoping that my content's not shit and that someone connects with me or I don't get trolled or I don't, you know what I mean? I just think that all that toxic messaging about you've got to be here, you've got to be on TikTok, go back to when the economy is shit, go back to your people. There are plenty of businesses that thrive in recessions. Like, absolutely thrive in recessions. They thrive in shit economies. They're not doing it because they're any different to you and I. They're doing it because they actually know what works for them in terms of lead flow. It's not necessarily because their product's needed. Let's be honest, if you're a discretionary spend right now, life is tough for you. But in our space, we're not discretionary spends. We're the spends that people are at their absolute limit right now. Yes, they're money poor, but they will outsource if they see value in it because they know that then they can spend time building their business bigger.
Correct. Absolutely. And so you have your podcast, Marketing Espresso, love the name, and you did a really great episode on marketing in a tough economy, which came out, feels like months ago now, but it's still as bloody relevant today. And I
think it's more relevant.
True, after the budget. I'll put it in the show notes so people can listen to it. One of the points we covered that you talked about in that was around getting back in touch with your CRM. Do you want to just run through, and I still want people to go and listen to that episode, so we won't give them the whole thing, but top line, what are some of those other things that you see works for service-based business when our clients are starting to look at their expenditure a little bit? And some businesses might be going, well, I could do my own social media, or I could manage my own inbox if push came to shove. What are some of those other things, those sideline tips we can be doing in tougher economic times?
Yeah, I think coming back to those points that I gave when you're starting out as well, right? So getting really clear on what it is that you offer and why, what's the ROI that you're adding to someone else's business. So really being able to showcase the value that you're bringing. I think that's a really important one to be able to justify, but also it helps people understand that you're confident in that value too, you know? And I think confidence goes a long way when we're dealing with clients and we're justifying our existence in their business because, you know, they are spending with us. And as much as you might have built big rapport and things, at the end of the day, you are still an expense. And you know, I've been having this conversation with a lot of my clients because, yeah, money is tight at the moment. So I think really understanding and coming back to what it is that you do and then who it is that you do it for. So getting really clear. I hate the word niche because I think niche is like, you know, I remember I once had a business coach. This is unhinged. Tell me that I should only work with accountants. And I was like, why would I do that? Wild. So I think when we think about niching, think about it a little bit differently and just think about, you know, if you've got a client that you're working with at the moment, actually what makes them really good is they pay on time. They're in that bracket of $1 million to 10 million. So they have cash flow. Just having a checklist of things that are non-negotiable for you of the kind of businesses that you want to work with, because that really helps you go out and try and scout them. I think one of the other things is the networking piece. And we spoke about it going back to your CRM, mining it. Who have you spoken to? Those dud leads or the dud proposals that you sent out, don't go back to those guys. Go to the ones that you were, you know, there was something else there. But also asking for referrals from your current clients and talking to them about your business goals and having honest conversations with them. I think if you should have a rapport set up enough in your customer service kind of, I think this is the other thing. One of the things I map out with clients that they like blows their mind is a bit of a customer service map of how we actually service them and going back and doing that work. Where are you really adding value and possibly where are you even over servicing so that you're not, you know, there's something that you're doing that is actually my time's better off spent here and evaluating that. And then I think network is the key one, going out and meeting new people. I think face to face, we know that it's coming back. We know you said yourself, you've got 2 events like coming up, right? So you're one of those people that's out in front of people all of the time as well. So am I. Your local business chamber. Go find these little places where your people are hanging out and hang out there with them. Networking, I get that. For me, I'm an extrovert. It's not hard. I understand some people hate it.
And from a geographic point of view, for some of our listeners, it's difficult, but that's where the great online communities, like some of the people, even in, I mean, not this a plug, but some of the people in our seed community, like the things I have shared and told them, like they are my girlfriends, I've never laid eyes on them in my life, but we just, it's just all this online connection. It is possible if the face-to-face isn't an option for you or it's not something that you're up for.
Yeah, totally. There's so many online communities now for rural and you're right. And also some people can't get out of the house because of caring requirements or there's a million and one different ways to network. Obviously in person, if you can do it, do it. But if it is like it has to be digital, there's plenty of people that like you, we only met in person for the first time in September, you and I.
And we've known each other for years. And I was like, hi, I'm Adrian. We finally got to meet in September. Yeah.
And that's wild. We've had so many intimate conversations up until that point.
We know each other so well and had never laid eyes on each other. Yeah, it's a good point.
Exactly. So it's like you actually don't know who's out there in your network. And I think we get really scared to ask for referrals and we get really scared to advertise that we're looking for work. But why else are you in business?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
they're not just going to turn up at your front door.
Correct. So it's like, don't be afraid, but it's about how you approach it. And I think that's the thing. The more genuine we are as humans, as the people that we are, and the reason that the more that we know the value that we add, what we actually do, the easier it becomes to articulate and ask the questions of people rather than just, hoping someone shows up because I posted to LinkedIn. I think those points when it is tough out there, I think they're the things that I've always found with myself and my clients actually work rather than we get caught in the trap of so many people coming to me at the moment. They're like, I'm not posting enough to LinkedIn. And I'm like, let's talk about what else you're not doing because there's probably a whole bunch of other stuff that, yes, the posting to LinkedIn, it's important for visibility, organic, blah, 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 blah. But there's probably a whole bunch of other stuff behind the scenes that we could just tweak a little bit as well that would help you too. So yeah, I think that's probably my advice on that one.
And I'll definitely pop that link in the show notes as well. And something you mentioned there around just reviewing actually how you're managing the clients. We did an episode with our mutual friend, Michelle Broadbent, about managing the client life cycle. So like doing great onboarding and all of that, but then also the offboarding when it needs to happen, and that in between. So we'll link that as well, because that talks really to your point about
Yeah.
servicing the client. And let's talk about AI. What's your thoughts? Expletives, we'll beat them out. In terms of marketing specifically, what are you loving? What are you hating? Where's your head at with AI and marketing?
I've listened to like 1,001 podcasts on AI and marketing from all different people, right? And I feel like I like to think I've done a lot of research or just tried to make myself quite worldly before I really made, because at first I was the same as everyone else. I was like, oh, fuck, this can't, like this can't possibly do what I do. And I remember, oh my God, I had this guy come to me and say, oh, I did my entire marketing strategy on AI in 3 seconds. And I was, oh, cool. So you've got the same marketing strategy as every other, can I say idiot, that just asked AI for a marketing strategy, right? I think for me, where I've landed with AI is it actually is an incredibly powerful, great tool to use in your marketing. However, and yes, it will make things so much more efficient. The ways that I use it and the way that I talk, the ways I set it up for my clients, it is everything when it comes to repurposing, but not writing your content originally. Don't outsource. AI doesn't have your stories. AI doesn't have your, I don't care how much you trade it, but also we'll get to that in a second. But it still doesn't have those little nuances or the little, I call my Becisms, like the fact that I'll randomly throw a word that doesn't exist into one of my emails, right? I create words all the time. Other people can do it. That's how the English language has gotten. Thank you. And it's like, give me my poetic license to just randomly come up with a new word, okay? But people will know straight away because AI is not going to create a word that doesn't exist. Never. So people know straight away. They see through the bullshit. And early days, I did a lot of testing on deliberately sending AI only content versus the next week sending mine. Oh my God. Huge difference. Every single time people know, right? People see through it. It's not just the M dashes. People just know when it's not you, right? Because especially if you've built a brand that is really you, it's really obvious when it's not you. However, repurposing it, putting in your content, and always paying for it if you're doing that, by the way, because that's a whole other side to it. But using it to repurpose it. So, if you do want to repurpose it from LinkedIn to Instagram, or if you want it to be an email, but start with the biggest thing first and then repurpose down from that. And then always triple check it, because it will always, the thing I love the most is whenever I'm asking it to create event-based stuff, it can never get the date or the date and the time right, or oh my God.
Always the same.
How hard is it and you know why? It's actually, I found out why. So when you ask it to look at a website, it can't plagiarize the website. So it can't, because it's got rules around not plagiarizing. So
it's got to change something to make it not.
Yeah. So it changes the friggin' date. So I always say never ever use it for your first draft. You create your first draft. Even if you hate writing, outsource to a copywriter for God's sakes. They still have a really great part in society. It is excellent for research, but I want you to always double check everything for that exact point, that it has so many limitations.
And makes so many mistakes.
It does. It really does. So I will use it. I'll be like, give me the latest stats on social media time usage in Australia between blah, 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 blah. It'll give me everything. It'll send me to the links. I always have to go check the links. But it does the groundwork of showing you what websites to go suss out, right? So, and then, putting stuff into graphs, and Claude's pretty good at that now. I can't believe the stuff Claude can produce for you. So I think the research, the repurposing, don't ever use it to create your first draft. Don't outsource while you're in business. If you can't even do the first draft to promote your business, are you passionate about your business anymore? Or and don't tell me you're time poor. Or if you're really time poor, then outsource to an expert that can also then know how to use AI to do this stuff, right? Don't outsource which makes your business different, because AI is already at a point where, because people are relying on it and not adding to it, it's already unlearning, is what some of the research is coming out and saying. So we don't know at what point it just gives you absolute shit, rather than something like, love your business enough to put it in a really good light. It comes back to that, what makes your business unique. Using AI to create all your content, it doesn't make your business unique. I don't care how much you have trained it. Train it though. And this is where the work that the brand strategist I know does and marketing strategy, this is where if you don't have that stuff sorted, do not be using AI for your marketing at all.
because it's so
Like if you can't
generic.
train it, correct. If you can't train it with an absolute gun brand strategy or a gun marketing strategy that you have had created by a professional, do not be using it or just use it to repurpose your current content because it is only as good as the training that you do for it. And it is a toddler. It is still learning. It's still growing. It is still evolving and it gets it wrong all the time. And it laughs at you when it gets it wrong. How annoying is it when it's like, this does not sound a thing like me. What have you done? And it's like, haha, sorry.
Back, try again.
Yeah, 100%. I'm like, holy shit, AI. I find one of the ways for me having a podcast, if I upload an episode, a transcript from it, and I'm like, give me the key points out of that I actually spoke to. Because when you're in the conversation, you don't remember everything unless you're right. And I want to be present, so I don't want to be sitting there writing down. So in that way, it has absolutely changed my existence because it's allowed me to be really present in my meetings. I love my Zoom meetings when I do strategy sessions now because I use Fathom and it just transcribes everything for me. So my clients get the most beautiful transcribe of our session where they actually have to-dos, right? Life-changing. My notes used to take me half a day. So it is transformative and it has made my world better. It's made my clients better. So I'm not going to poo-poo it. There are elements of AI that have made my life just, oh my God, I can service double the amount of clients now. But I think where people are going wrong with it is we get stuck on this content hamster wheel because everyone's telling us that we need to be posting to LinkedIn every day and doing this and doing that. So instead of creating really deep thought out content that we really care about, we're just smashing it through AI and going, I need 5 posts for LinkedIn. Create them for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real shame because we're outsourcing the reason that we got into business in the first place.
And our voice and our
to
perspective
a machine
and our opinion and our take on things, which is the reason why people will choose to work with us over someone else because they share that take. They're open to that perspective. And AI just can't capture that in a content creation way.
Oh, AI, like I'm famous for my rants. Love it or hate it. I've had people call me out and be like, you're too ranty. And I'm like, well, someone has to be.
There's an unsubscribe button, right?
Literally. And it's like, you don't have to like what I'm saying because what I'm saying probably challenges the way that you're marketing. And don't come to me crying then when shit's not working because you're complaining about me ranting, but I'm ranting because there are people out there that have no marketing background. They haven't done 20 years failing at stuff, winning at stuff, building stuff with my experience. They've had 10 minutes on social media and suddenly they're an expert and they are louder than me. And people are listening to them. So they're louder than me now because we have a platform where they don't even have to create their own videos anymore. AI can create their video for them. So it's like when you're competing with that, which I don't really think I am, because let's be honest, their audiences are not my people. But you got to get a bit ranty. You got to care about something. And caring about something, I think, really sets you aside these days because all people care about at the moment is getting content out. They don't care about why they got into business anymore. They don't care about the outcome. I think, we just get so caught up on the trap of I've got to be doing this, I've got to be doing that, that we don't stop for a second and go, but why?
What am I trying to say here? What am I trying to achieve?
Yeah. I actually can't believe, this is a bit of a rant tangent, but I can't believe how many people have come back to me lately, even this year, and gone, I don't know why I was trying to create all these followers on Instagram. I'm really content with the money that I make. And I'm like, I'm really content with my life. It's a big question, but what does success look for you? Because that's also how you choose how you market, right? If you want to take over the world, go for it. 100%, but your marketing strategy is going to be different to someone that's really content working 4 days a week, building a family life. We're all in business for different reasons. We all have a very different why. Yeah. And I think that also is very different from your question to AI, but using that to really drive why we're marketing the way that we're marketing or why we're adding to a content cycle or why we're chasing this constant need for leads or whatever it is that we're chasing.
We mentioned a few times the podcast. Can you tell our listeners and our viewers a bit more about what the podcast covers and the sorts of things that they might hear on the show if they're not already a subscriber?
So the potty has been around 4 years
Yeah.
now. I think it's more actually. Holy hell, it's been around for a long time. So these days it comes out in seasons. It's really, I've got guests on there that talk about all things marketing, or occasionally we have a business finance scope on things. But really it's to try and, the reason it was born and the reason I started it was to try and distill some of the information out there about marketing and how we should be marketing our business, but also give people real tangible tips they can go away and implement after they listen to it. So thought provoking, but also let's actually solve why you're marketing the way you're marketing, or let's give you tips on how to actually just start the marketing engine without hopefully the overwhelm. But like a lot of people on there that have just really inspirational ways of looking at things, or different ways of looking at things, and really like, yeah, can give the audience something else to think about.
Nice. Well, as I said, we'll pop all the links to Marketing Espresso in the show. Bec, I knew when we got introduced many years ago by our friend Michelle Trimble that you and I were like similar, but today I have realized we are way more similar than I thought we were. And I think we share a lot of the same values and we see things a bit of the same way. So I have very much enjoyed our time chatting, and yeah, super grateful to you for all your expertise. If people want to connect, if they want to continue a conversation or catch up with you for a coffee, where's the best place for us to send them?
Yeah, I agree too, by the way. I think that we are so
Yeah.
similar, and thank you so much for the opportunity to chat this morning. We could
I
chat
think
forever,
so.
I reckon. So if people want to find me, the best way is Bec Chappell. It's double P double L, like the cricketers if you're as old as I am. So generally I'm on other LinkedIn. I do have Insta, but I'm really bad at checking it. So hit me up on LinkedIn, Bec Chappell, or just find me via my website, which is becchappell.com.au. And yeah, I'm hanging around, and I'm always open to a virtual coffee, a real coffee. I do love coffee, hence why Marketing Espresso. I guess it all
All
makes
checks
sense.
out. Very on brand.
And I think it's not obvious, but obviously I'm always up for a chat.
Yes, it's so obvious, and I'm grateful that you are. Thank you for your time and yeah, for sharing your expertise. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Seed to Success. Make sure you are subscribing so you never miss an episode. If you know a VA or OBM who might benefit from this conversation, feel free to share it with them. Let's chat again soon.